we're live. Hello, everybody.
And we're live.
And we're live.
Hello.
We're live
Hello.
Hi, hello.
We're live with the second roundtable stream. And that's all I'm going to say, except hi, I'm Janis, he, him. And I'm going to popcorn it over to somebody who is going to do an actual intro, which is Ariel, who can actually be trusted with that.
I am the de facto truster for
Rude.
intros. I am Ariel. I'm 1/5 now of the Find Out crew. We have just introduced our Notion guy, Glyza. Was not on this stream, but we might see seeing some other ones later. We are, yes, like Yana said, doing our roundtable discussion, our bi-monthly chat, where we bring in special guests who got some industry-specific knowledge and experience, and just have them chat about awesomeness in the TTRPG space. I'll let our crew introduce themselves first, and then we will get into our guest for today. I'll start with Janis. Give me an introduction, please.
That was my introduction before. You can find me on this channel.
You trusted Ariel.
Sometimes elsewhere.
We can't do it.
Okay, so now we're going to go to Shiv. Shiv, just let us know who you are.
Hi, I'm Shiv. She, they. I'm here on Find Out Productions, everywhere as much as I can be. And if you want to follow me and my personal unhinged things, drbubblesphd, wherever you can find me. And I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Imani to introduce.
Okay, first off, I would like to say I can be trusted. I can be trusted. Hi, I'm Imani. Pronouns she, they. You can find me here at Find Out Productions, doing production things. I'm currently for a Comedinne actual play. Please look forward to that. I'm also prepping for Juneteenth. Please look forward to that. If you're Black and want to GM a game, please apply. Applications close theoretically tomorrow, probably Tuesday, depending on how many people sign up. Just putting that out there. But yeah, I'm not the Notion guy.
And last but not least, our wonderful guest, Em. Please let people know who you are and where they can find you.
Gosh, what an existential question. My name is Emme Kay Kennedy. I use she, her pronouns exclusively. And yeah, I'm unfortunately these days best found still on meta products like Instagram. That's where I post a lot of my comedy clips. So that's my full name, EMMEKAYKENNEDY. MK Kennedy. I just released a special on YouTube called Oops, which you can also find through that, Google, and on Instagram. And then on Blue Sky, I'm at echolocated, like the past tense of echolocate. And that's where I post game stuff when I am so lucky to get to do it like I am right now.
Perfect. Speaking of game stuff, we'll hop right in. And actually, this is how I first met you.
Yeah.
This is, for those of you, maybe none of you know, Em has created a wonderful game, Hero Catastrophe, which I think was amazing because it's a slightly different take on a hero's journey. It's very unique in that, but can you tell me a little bit about like the initial spark that led to that, or the question that was like, this is the game that I want to make?
Yeah, so I've made this game, bless you, Imani. I made this game in 2023. It sort of, mid us processing the heights of the pandemic, and I lost my best friend in August of 2017. So it had been a few years since I'd been through some big personal loss. And I was taking a TTRPG writing class as like a kind of pandemic activity, I guess, like an online thing you can do. My best friend who I lost had introduced me to role-playing games, and I had gotten into things like Dungeon World and Powered by the Apocalypse games and D&D, obviously. And like one of the last things we did when we hung out was like worked on developing his character. And so I was really like into just the creative aspects of that. I come from the theater world where like everything just takes so much time and so many people and so much resources, and being able to just like think it and create it on the spot and then talk about it with your friends was like really appealing to me. So I was taking this class with this amazing teacher and game designer themselves named Nat Menard. And Nat is part of 9th level games that has this system called, gosh, now it's out of my head. What is it called?
Poly something.
The polymorph system. That is actually what I was going to ask you about. So perfect, we're landing on that.
So embarrassing that I forgot it already. It's been too long. So Polymorph is the system that I licensed to design the game. And I was really trying to think about, like, I find TTRPG is a great place to like rehearse emotions, to like go through really intense, amazing, exciting things, and to have a chance to like play with those feelings in a relatively safe environment. And so I was thinking about what would happen in a game if I knew whether I was going to live or die? How would that change the way that I approached playing the game? And it became really fun for me to think about as a way to get people into the world of high fantasy and big epic decisions and the sort of like jumping to the meat of the climax of a story in situations that are incredibly impossible, like the pandemic, like the world we're in right now, where there's just catastrophe after catastrophe and it accumulates very quickly and we all feel so overwhelmed. What if we got to still be a hero in that, knowing our fate, trying to figure out how to make it make sense? And so those are the kind of things that got me going in trying to figure out how to use this system to make that be a fun way to play with your friends.
Yeah, I do remember like playing and knowing that I was in our game, everyone had survived, but I was also thinking, okay, whether or not I've lived, but have my companions lived and died also? And how do I want to make sure that I make a connection with them if they haven't?
I'm going to try really hard to be succinct about this, but you have activated my trap card of info dumping about the processing of grief. Hi, I'm Shiv. I'm attending mortuary school and have worked in the funeral industry for almost a decade. So it's actually a really common thing that I have suggested to people who are going through grief of find a safe way to process it that isn't your own experience. And TTRPG is a very common like tool that I offer to people of write your backstory that is a mirror, but not an exact copy. And it's such an easy way because then it's taking your emotions and siphoning it to something that is not a part of yourself. And it makes it much easier to process and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why people find like stories that remind them of loved ones they lost. And that is a way to do that. So there's also a really wonderful play to also tap into my theater background called She Kills Monsters.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Where it is the sister of someone who has passed away finishing running the D&D campaign she left unfinished. And it's kind of this interesting duo POV where part of it is them as the players and then them as the characters, and they're processing grief in both storylines.
Yeah.
So that, you know, just kind of, hey, how about everything you've ever loved in your life being one thing? And I actually got called in by my theater professor when he was directing that show to run a D&D game for the actors. So I have a guest lecturer credit running D&D for college students and talking to them about grief at the same time. So like it is actually a really wonderful way for the processing of grief and even facing your own mortality by using TTRPGs as a way to safely explore those emotions in a low stakes environment. So that's actually a really beautiful way, and a game specifically written for that exact purpose is really awesome. And I'm going to add that to the repertoire of games that I'm making my like resource list for people.
Oh yeah, please do. I mean, one of the constraints of the game is that you are trapped in this wilderness that you cannot escape. Like there's no like yes, you roll a dice to see if you live or die, but you're still fundamentally trapped and you will be stuck here forever. And so like Ariel in our game that we ran, all the characters lived. Like they all rolled on the top side of the die. It's a system with one die, and so you just use that for all of your moves. There's 4 moves, so it's a very simplified. There's no math, and it is always up to a lot of creative interpretation. Yeah, I know, Imani. Very appealing for new players was my hope. But
Or people who are just
This-
bad at math.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
no,
yeah.
I loved that system. I wasn't
Yeah.
sitting here trying to figure out how many dice to roll and plus this and that, and here's modifiers.
Right.
And the class that I picked kind of dictated what dice I used, and I just rolled that for fucking everything. It was really
I know.
an easy mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, the mechanics of it sort of reward you for playing into the archetype that you're choosing. But also, of course, if you make a big gamble against archetype and you have luck points to change a result. But if you roll a 1, you're fucked no matter what. Can we swear on this? I should have asked
Yes.
The show is called
Yeah.
Fuck a Round
It's called,
Table.
it's called Fuck a
you know,
Round Table.
We just
Yeah.
try not to do it in the first 15 seconds or else it'll get demonetized on YouTube.
Yeah, totally.
We're not
Good thing I
monetized on
didn't do that.
YouTube anyway. Just say whatever, honestly.
Yeah, we're so far from monetized on YouTube, it's not even funny.
Nah.
Look, I'm a
Doesn't
comedian.
matter.
I get it.
Yeah.
So when you roll a 1, it's called a chaos roll, and then you get double the consequences for failing. And so while you can succeed in crit as well, and Ariel had a D4, so there's like a 50% chance of either being total chaos or total success. And so obviously the things that happen in the game are quite extreme, which to me mirrors the fact that in grief you are feeling a lot of really extreme things. What's happened to this person that is suddenly ripped from you is extreme. It's all high drama, right? And you don't escape that. That never goes away. So this wilderness, as the metaphor for grief that you're in, is like, how do I survive, or how do I die in a noble way or in a meaningful way? And what I love about it whenever I run it in any context, whether it's on a podcast or it's live in a con situation, anywhere, is that everyone is playing to find out how the result they already know for themselves is, while they're also building these connections with other characters where they don't know, are they going to live or die? Do I invest in this person? Do I not? And all those interplays happen with these very severe restrictions and makes for like a really, it's usually very funny because people process grief through humor. It's usually very weird. Sometimes it's romantic, like people die in the arms of each other, right? All these insane, wild things happen. But I found it as a like a ritual, a really beautiful way to like rehearse those feelings, feel those feelings, and move with it, and get a really fun, exciting story out of it as well, of course.
I'm sorry. I promise I'm not going to dominate all of this conversation. We run to the next question, but I have another thing to say. This is perfectly in line with like everything I'm saying.
No, I knew that this would happen.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. But actually, like, according to studies, grief is the least felt emotion. And like, we grieve a lot of things, right? You think about it's not just about death, it's about the loss of relationships, it's the loss of jobs,
Possibility.
and, you know, like there's a lot of things we
Yeah.
grieve, but it's still less than the other emotions that we experience. And so we are usually pretty unequipped to handle it when it comes around in any way. And in specifically in terms of talking about like loss in like the death sense, we are actually growing up in a like time where most people are adults or close to adult before they experience their first one. So we are totally unequipped to handle that first one because we haven't experienced it at all in our formative years.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, a generalization. There are people obviously who experience this, blah, 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 but just on the whole. And so with that, having almost like a thought exercise that helps you process that, that's a really good thing. Like, this game would be really great to play specifically with like teenagers, because that is the time that we really lock in our emotional regulation. And so like with people who do like therapeutic GM like certifications, this would be a great like middle to high school game to introduce to help kind of learn how to regulate that emotion in particular. Because as somebody who's worked a lot of funerals, there are young adults or like people who are kind of just hitting, you know, their stride, who then experience a big loss. And those are the people who jump into the caskets. Okay, like I have had it happen 4 times in separate funerals. It's not fun for the funeral professionals because we have to make sure we grab it and nothing else topples over. So like maybe help them along in that journey. So it's just kind of I feel like it's something that we may touch on in certain games depending on the story, but having a game specifically around that is just it's a brilliant tool even outside of it just being, hey, here's a TTRPG we can play. Like you can actually utilize this in I don't want to say clinical setting, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry, Shiv out.
No, I was again because I played this game and I knew, yeah, before we even started whether or not I made it or not, and
Yeah.
was worried about others, and I knew this Shiv being connected to this industry like she was, that to be like a fun place. But for those of you who are also maybe experiencing something or want to look more into this game, I think Imani can pop the link into the chat now. But it is Hero Catastrophe, and it's a wonderful game to play both when you are processing or if you're just looking for a fun game to play, because it was really exciting to like not know and then find out in a very short period of time what would happen. It was awesome.
It was funny. I was looking at the Kickstarter page for it, going, "Oh wait, this would be great." This because like the idea of from the get go how it's going to end. It's really about how the journey that you take along the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
Because,
you said, what risk would you take?
right, because if you think about it, we do all know that we're going to die ultimately. Like we're aware. We
Yeah.
don't like thinking about it, but we know. So
it's like it's the thing that you're required to do, but after being born, surprise, you're gonna
Right.
die.
right.
You know, as much as people are trying to avoid it and avoiding talking about it doesn't make it go away. And it's just
Right.
something that like we, at least as Americans, I'll speak about the Americans because I am familiar with the American, we just
The
don't talk about
Americans.
grief or death or anything like that. It's a very sanitized kind of thing. It happens in a hospital. You don't see anything before you see them prepared. But as somebody who's been essentially the person who's between when you see them last and when you see them next, like it makes you very aware of mortality. And like, it's just
For
kind of one
sure.
of those things that it's just like, this happens to everyone. There's not a single demographic I haven't interacted with since I started in this industry. And so even, yeah, if you know you are going to die, it's like, well, still live. Like just because you know it's going to happen at some point. I'm really trying so hard not to just
YOLO.
Okay.
That's right. I'll save you because we got 2 other topics to get there. So we can.
I will do one last thing. Last thing. The thing we know as the 5 stages of grief are not actually about grief after the matter. It is anticipatory grief, and that was pioneered by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who wrote a lot on grief. And
the 5 stages are also not real.
It's more. The thing is the 5 stages of grief never happen linearly. Those are the 5 things that you typically experience, sometimes in that order, sometimes out of order, and sometimes all at once. So the whole thing is like, the idea is some people get to that acceptance stage, some people don't have time to, but like, what would you do if you knew?
But also the 5 stages, that's like, it is, like you said, entirely sanitized pretty much everywhere, the entire concept of grief, but it's also a big topic. So the 5 stages of grief were initially just field observations without any theory behind it, and got marketed as this universal thing.
Yeah.
Not by the actual person who did it, but after the fact.
Never by those people.
I was going to say, like, the actual work Kubler-Ross has done on it is really brilliant, but a lot of people have just continued to misunderstand it for, I can't even remember who wrote it, but like, so there's a really, if you ever feel like reading Kubler-Ross, On Death and Dying is a really brilliant book. Anyways, and I'm going to take off the funeral director mask, and I'm going to go back to TTRPG for a second.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap up with this thought related to TTRPGs, and then Ariel move us along. I think for me, one thing that I love about teaching the game to people as a GM is that like it has built in it inherent paradoxes and contradictions. So you have the number of harm on your character, that you have the number of sides to your die. And so like Ariel only had 4 harm, and I'm sure I harm the shit out of you beyond 4, because again, I can't stress enough, there's a wild table that we roll on, and as the game gets harder and harder, you roll at disadvantage, bad stuff happens, more and more bad stuff happens. but you know you're going to live. And so there's this weird thing where like you're taking harm, you go past what you should be able to take, and it brings up all these questions around like, wait a minute, what should I do? Can I do? It's like these are just a series of words that were written down to create some imaginary circumstances. Like we're struggling with the
It's not
fact that
law.
it's not law, and grief is not linear. Things don't make sense. Things don't add up. And so I think some of that is also me being like, I don't know, I'm just trying this game design thing out for the first time. Don't be too harsh on me. But the things that came up in contradiction were actually beautiful poetic like offerings, because they relate to the fact that these 5 stages of grief don't happen like this in the wild like this. They aren't linear, as Janis and Shiv have said. And to me, that was giving my players all these gifts of like things to wrestle with emotionally. So I'm curious, Ariel, if you want to reflect any more on that of your experience, or just like, yeah.
I did. So I picked my character based on what other people had chose. I was like, okay, we have this person and this person, so I'm okay picking the caster, which I'm normally not.
Mhm.
And I knew I was very squishy. I tried to stay
You were.
back a lot, but I hit 0. There were 2 points where we got 2 heal, and I got back up
Yeah.
to 1. But I was sitting there like, if this was any other game system,
Yeah.
my journey is over. I've hit
Yep.
0 life points, and I just like have to try to be healed by someone else, or hope that the situation my GM performs a Deus Ex Machina and brings me back. But yeah, I thought about that, like the mother lifting the car for the child, those people who like do amazing stunts and then afterwards collapse. This is the marathon. Literally ran for 3 days and then just died. But it's because his body was like, you can do a little more. You can push a little more. And that was, at least for my character, a very freeing experience. Like, push, try it, do it. The consequences will matter less if you've gotten a chance to do the thing, as opposed to you not doing it because you're afraid of the consequences. So it really just, it gave me freedom with how I chose all of my actions. I really did love it. It was so, and like also, yeah, that connection. The mystery of not knowing whether or not my compatriots made it, not because of anything we chose or that I was able to do, made me really want to talk to them. And those moments when you're like, you have a short life in real life. How are you spending it? Who are you spending your time with? How kind are you being to those people and to yourself? What risk are you taking? Like, it's a simple like, oh, here's a 3-hour fun game where you roll a little plastic. No, this is a direct reflection of life. And I also have a lot of respect for those who've been in the industry of people passing. I've been to funerals from a young age because my parents were a little older when they had me. My mom had a lot of kids, or had a lot of siblings. So I think my first funeral I was like 7. And there is that moment of like, who does your makeup? Because my family does our own preparation makeup stuff. But I've also like, who chose the music? How involved are you in this process? We do like a lot of celebration of life stuff. And so I've also had a very different connection to passing than I know some other folks, especially being raised in a very religious household. So yeah, no,
being religious, that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, I wasn't praying to God for help at any moment. I was like, whatever happened, happened.
Yeah. The number of celebration of life, like not videos, presentations I've done in my life, and not because people in my life has died, but because like my aunt is 70 years old, 80, 70, almost 80 years old, I want to say. But she is one of the younger people at her church. And so at her church, she's the most technically savvy person. And so she then outsources her like funeral preparation stuff to me, being like, hey, I have all these photos and videos from these people. And it's just like, and it's sad, and it's sad in a way because like, oh my God, these people are like dead and like their family are grieving. But also it's like, hey, the people get to look through all these photos and videos of this person and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they lived this life, they did this thing. And not just about, it's like, yes, it's sad, but like they had a whole ass life. They had a whole ass good, and like I feel like with hero catastrophe, it's like, hey, you know you're gonna die. If you know if even if you don't die, you're never leaving this place. Like this is where you are forever.
Yeah.
Like how are you spending the time? It's just like, especially as a brown person in America, it's like I'm not leaving this country.
Right.
So I might as well make the best of it while I'm here. Like I can't. Yeah, it's like when I say YOLO, I mean YOLO.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the millennial Tarma.
I'm going to put a pin in. I want to run Heroes Catastrophe for a charity stream with Order of the Good Death
With the
as the
Oh.
charity that we do. If you would be interested in me running that for you, but anyways, that'll be for. I'm just putting a pin in that so all my compatriots know to remind me to talk to you about that. But anyways. Let's get on before Shiv puts the funeral director hat back on.
Ariel got that document. Go. What's our next?
Our next, we're focusing on some character. It's the character stuff and some
okay.
AP performance. And then
sure, yeah.
So I wanted to just ask you about how you approach your table as far as longer games where you can fully flesh out a character and have the audience or other people start to see them grow versus like a one shot or sitting at a table at a con where you have a limited time. How do you approach that character development?
So I come from a background in I got my MFA in something called devised performance, which is sort of like if
theater.
It's theater. If you know how like musicians will play jazz, like they know a structure, they know a tune, but then they riff. That's how theater artists together collectively improvise to create. So it's very, very in the world of TTRPGs in terms of like a group of people telling a story together, improvising, collaborating. It also involves things like clown and acrobatics and mask work and all these things. And so I studied a lot of like how to generate and create characters very quickly with very limited time because it's done improvisationally in real time, right? So when I'm in a con situation or a one shot or a two shot, I'm trying to think of one central kind of shape or archetype that I can really lean into hard that has an interesting kind of underpinning or counter mask. So we talk in mask work about how there's like the mask, there's what you see in the traditional like drama mask, there's like the really sad one and the really happy one. So like you pick one of those, right? But the one you pick always has the other one underneath. So the happiest of people have a depth of sadness to them. The saddest of people have some joy. And it's about finding the ways to move between those two. That's where the sort of like the theatrical stuff is, the hot stuff. And with a particular mask tradition called Comedinne, where you have masks that have really specific shapes that make you kind of imagine different things. There's like a long nose, really trickstery kind of character called Arlecchino. Again, really sneaky, but then also has a really like vulnerability, has a weakness. And I approach character work that way as well. So I do a lot of AP performing when I can, not a lot. I would love to do more, but I did one for Queer XP, playing as a trans lesbian sex witch. And
I like all of those words.
Okay. I think that needs to be
my wife.
some detail maybe needed for that, but okay.
All those words made sense together and separately in a way that no, I know exactly what just happened. It's Sailor Moon.
Yeah, no. I know the trans lesbian sex wish. She's asleep in my master bedroom right now.
Yeah. I'm also right here. I'm just playing myself. But it was the playbook was called The Vessel. This is from The Between by Jason Cordova, and it was such a gift of an experience. And the vessel has the sort of conceit of this character is that there are these sort of like spirits talking to the vessel, and you can channel the spirits and do magic, but it costs something. And so I had it kind of like cost pleasure. So I would sort of need to give it pleasure to do the things I wanted to do. And it had a very like autistic motif for me. I'm autistic as well. So like a lot of sensory overload and a lot of like overstimulation and different things like that. So I just really tried to lean into like, okay, if this character is constantly overwhelmed and constantly hearing things and constantly like at a level of overstimulation or understimulation, the mask and the counter mask, then I can play either of those states, but I'm constantly kind of like edging towards the extreme of one. When you're in a very short amount of time with storytelling, you want to make big, bold choices early and frequently so that people have time to see consequences to actions. Things need to happen in games, especially in short form storytelling, because everyone is trying to figure out what the fuck to do, and you make a choice, people can respond to that. So I try to make really big, clear choices. I think I just started masturbating and invoked some sort of spirit world connection
As you
pretty
do.
much right away, as you do.
As you do.
It was an
experience.
explicit game. Yeah, it was a spiritual
And the
experience.
Between has a mechanic, has like mechanics that have like finite uses, right? Like the masks
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And when I first played the Between, I played Ghost of El Paso, and I basically had a smoke 'em if you got 'em mentality. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
care that I only have so many of these to do. I'm going to use all of them because they are also like masks. They are the way you build your character and inform the backstory. And it's kind of one of those things that you don't have to have these things prepared. And if you are a good improviser who has at least an idea of your archetype or whatever, you can kind of just fill those blanks in when they come up. So
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about making choices and committing to them and letting them tell you what happens and letting how the other players respond to you, and all that information is so good. We talk about in improvisation, making a big choice is giving a gift. So you might feel like you're like taking up too much space or like being too whatever on the star of the show. And who knows, maybe I'm guilty of that sometimes. But even if it comes down to like a
we
strong
talked about
accent.
being divas in tech.
Mhm. But I don't know.
Yeah.
My sense of the feedback from the players I play with is that they like it because I make big emotional choices, I make big physical choices, and that just brings clarity. And in gameplay, you want to be clear because then people can follow a story and make their own choices. And everyone's just trying to play and have fun. In longer form games, I mostly have done like home games. I haven't done a lot of longer form games as an actual player. So I'm making this observation more based on like short series that I've done,
Yeah.
5 or 6 episodes, or just like in my own home games. And I'd say that when you have more time, the extremity of your choices becomes less important, at least immediately. So you can be a little bit more subtle about, you can be sitting back and watching and seeing what other characters do. You can, so I find it can be a little bit more hyper realistic for me at least, where I think of, what would my character do, as I'm sort of constantly thinking about on one level, and then on the lower level, like what do me as a player need? What does the group need? That's when I start to think about, well, if I were to make a choice that will pay off in a few sessions, in a really big dramatic way, maybe that's going to be great because it'll feel earned. It'll feel like we built up to this place, as opposed to in a short form story where there's just not enough time for that to develop. So make the big choice now and deal with the consequences. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, but I think that's just, it's like when you're sketching, you start with like big bold lines to like come up with a shape. And then when you're actually working on like a long form painting or whatever, you're putting in all the little details and the shading and the accents and making it into something that has more rendered 3 dimension. And both are beautiful. They're just different levels of detail.
Yeah. I think that I'm someone just personally who, when I'm trying to be in a shorter game, like those 2-3 hour ones, I have a difficult time making those big choices because I'm so
Mm.
scared of how they'll derail the situation necessarily, or how those choices affect others.
But then again, derailing is almost the point. That's the gift.
Yeah.
Because when
To get something
it's
new.
well,
See,
and it's
I
kind of like,
would not necessarily agree with it. I would say if you're in fear of derailing, that's the GM's fault for not giving you a clear setup for a choice to make within the framework.
yeah, I think
it's kind of comes down to how collaborative it is. And the thing is, it's not players versus GM, it's everyone,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So the gift can
We're all in
also
this
be given
together.
by the
It's
GM.
literally.
Yeah, and I as a GM will push players to make big decisions. I will target people and be like, okay, what's going on with your character? Would your character just sit there? Like, come on, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, put yourself
Because
together.
Yeah, but well, because also again, we're all collectively telling a story, and I do think that we all get scared. Of course, we get scared in life. Is this the right choice? Am I doing this right? Am I going to be? Am I going to? And like we learn so much through mistakes. You can always retcon if you absolutely need to be like, okay, that was an absolute disaster, and now the story doesn't make any sense. Let's rewind, go back. Like it's all made up. We can do whatever the
Yeah.
fuck we want.
It's a-
Yeah, that is
This is
so.
true.
And I did it specifically for because you think you did an amazing job in the game that I was in. Do you have any like advice for GMs who might be running sessions either longer or shorter for encouraging that sort of choice for players or for pulling out the part of you that I know wants to do that? Go ahead and push the button. How do you encourage that?
Push the button.
I try to model it a little bit in the way that I narrate, the way that I propose. And again, it's always a proposal for me. I'm not ever telling a player this is what your character is thinking, but I might say this could be something your character might be thinking. I don't know, you tell me. So I'll have some of that a little bit, especially at the beginning, to sort of like vibe check with a player to be like, are we in the same world? Do we want to play in this kind of sandbox, this kind of more risk-taking gameplay? I will reward players who do take risks, even just verbally. Oh, awesome choice. Oh, heck yeah, that's great. Yes, let's try that. Oh my gosh, that failed spectacularly. How amazing. Um, GMs have a lot of power with rephrasing and restating what's going on. Again, that's about forming cohesion with the group around the story, what's happening as it's happening. So I will narrate someone making a big bold choice, even if it fails, in the most spectacular way I can, to really encourage and incentivize people to seek that kind of glory with each other. Um, but I think a lot of it comes down to also like giving people space to take some time to think through and feel it out. I feel like with you, it was kind of being patient with letting you kind of figure out how the game was working for you. And in the end, you were making tons of wild magical
Yeah.
gambits, and about half of them worked out and half of them did not, and it was great. It was a great gameplay.
There is a lot of me saying sorry, because
Say sorry and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, magic is to some degree on a lot of those choices. I have been at a table where exploration is not necessarily rewarded because the GM
Right.
had a very strict idea of what they wanted that campaign to be and how much time they had to tell their story as opposed
Right.
to us telling the story together, which I think is very most TTRPGs. I can't think of any that are not collaborative in nature. Everyone's trying to find somebody who's
I have worked.
Yeah, there's
not about that.
definitely an
I have
approach
worked
you can
with that
have
person.
to failure as well. Like I always joke that when I GM, I do task failed successfully, where it's not a no, it's a no but or no and. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not a full stop. That thing failed. Now we can't pursue that storyline. No, we just need to find another way. And I've worked with a lot of no period GMs that just informed how I start to run things, because it's like I don't like when it's like, can I do this thing? And it's no. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
Yeah, same.
well then I'm out of ideas and I'm going to sit back and not do anything. Like,
Yeah.
so
Something I care a lot about when I GM is momentum. I think a lot about narrative flow and like how we all should be feeling caught up in this. We all should be feeling like swept up and lost in the story. And even just on a functional level, just a hard no stop just stops momentum. And it pauses, it makes people question themselves, it throws a lot of uncertainty in. And if it's not clear why it's a no, but the other thing that I pulled from Powered by the Apocalypse and Dungeon World was this idea of like failure drives the fiction forward. And so it's like it just means that there's a reason why that didn't succeed. What could it be? Oh, that's interesting. Like maybe this happens instead, or what about this? And again, in this mindset of exploration, of I actually don't know all the answers as the GM. I'm really here to facilitate all of us finding the answers together. That is different than some people have learned to play games where it's more of a video game and there's hard physics and that's it.
Yeah.
You mean
And there could be
all
cool
those
reasons for
third
that.
edition players?
Yeah, exactly.
All,
All of them. Every single one.
yeah, it's me. It's me.
It's just you. Just you. But I
It's
think
me and all my friends. There's dozens of us.
at the end of the day, play is taking risks in a safe environment, and a hard no can feel really unsafe if it doesn't come with some offer
Mm.
to give you another way to play. And so I think it's certainly fine to say no on an improvisational level, but to a player, you should kind of always be saying yes in some way, even if it's okay, this idea is maybe not working out or doesn't fit the world, but what about this, or try this, or let's see what we could do with this.
Yeah, that is something I took from maybe a Brittley Mulligan something, where it's just him
Sure.
repeating the question back, where it's a, so
Mhm.
it sounds like what you want to do is this. And you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I want to do. And you're like, perfect, because that's what I, as the GM, can give you in this space. If you're just,
Yeah,
it's just
you're
psychology.
you're moving the sandbox around to sort of fit what the player wants to do, but you're still keeping the sandbox because it can't be nothing. It can't be anything. Otherwise, it's just pure chaos. And we want, the chaotic choices within a meaningful world, and you have to help define that for people.
Yeah,
Controlled
I mean, we
chaos.
had something like that just yesterday with Blades in the Dark, where
I don't know what you're
somebody-
talking about.
somebody just
That sounds
thought that,
fake.
what if Spirit Bane charms, which are charms that Bane spirits, could also function as a cell phone? And I said, well, no. But
I mean, why not?
You
I mean,
you
why
have a
not?
voucher that can deliver messages.
Right.
You have a
was
bird
less
right there.
it was not a hard no. It was most definitely a not that thing, but remember the sentient vulture that you built your whole character around.
Like, you don't actually need to use the spirit bane charm. You can just use the bird. The delivery bird is right there.
Yeah.
Right.
The things that Spirit Bane charms explicitly cannot do, but the players really want them to do, has kind of become a running thing in that game.
I'm
We're
going to
2
try to
seconds in,
find
but it
an
already has-
absolutely unhinged way to ask you to use my spirit bane. Actually, I don't even have a spirit bane. I have a demon bane. So
I feel like the best no but is like there's no rule against that, but there would be had I thought about it prior to you asking me. So now we have to find a new way to say no, but like no, it can't be a cell phone, but this can be a cell phone.
Yeah.
Shiny
Right,
object,
like-
shiny object.
That's why, like, and it sounds like Em and I have a lot of similar background in theater, but like when I was doing improv both in school and semi-professionally, they really encourage the no and no but. Like everyone says, oh, the number one rule of improv is yes and I'm like, yes, that's the name of the rule. There's more parts to it, which is you just have to acknowledge what has just been said to you and then add to it. It doesn't have to always be yes and, it can be yes but, no and, no but.
It's also, I don't really have a problem just saying no. In TTRPG, I don't, because so here's the thing, like improv sessions are one thing. Let me finish. Improv sessions are one thing. Improv sessions are one thing, but in a longer game, and we just had this, like Blades in the Dark, if I had allowed everything that the players wanted Spirit Bane charms to do, a Spirit Bane charm in that game is something that you can just pull it out of your pocket. It has no weight. In a campaign that's supposed to run for, I don't even know, like at least 16 sessions, if we just pile on the yes ands for that, I can't keep track of all of that, and it's gonna just be completely overpowered. So I'm fine saying no in the fiction and then just taking it, and that's where TTRPGs are different from pure improv. You can take it to the rules layer and just say, okay, let's work together on just figuring out what we can do.
Right.
And again, it's about providing structure so that the story has meaning. Because you're right, if it could just anything could happen at all time, every time, you do as a GM kind of need to be a bit of a parent and being like, okay, I know you want the candy, I know you want the toy, but for right now, we got to go do our homework. Like, and that's part of the role of the GM is to be the caretaker of the whole world and the gym that everyone is playing in. And it can be a fun dynamic to be like, that's insane. No, I'm not giving you this all-powerful nuclear object.
I mean, what we're trying to turn the Spirit Bane I have been a good little bee. I would like everyone to acknowledge that. I have done nothing wrong in
Sounds
that
fake.
campaign. But we're
Sounds
basically
fake.
trying to turn it into a smartphone. Oh, it can do this, and it can do this, and it can do this, and it can do this. It's like, this
here's
is
the
bug
thing,
spray.
something
Okay,
wrong.
this is bug spray.
And I'm just
here's the
sitting there
shit.
like, it says what it does. It is a spirit bane charm. Come on.
So, like, for me as a player who likes to find the loophole in the rule, right? And I don't
Yeah,
mean
for
that
sure.
like I'm trying to be, you know, a picky person, but like I love Faith up, so like I can kind of start to see where the holes in the contract are. But
Sure,
like
sure.
if a item says is exactly what it does, you can't change that, but you can change what you do with the item,
Yeah.
right? And so like I remember at one point, this is forever and a day ago, when mainly I played D&D, we killed a dragon, and we were in like, it was kind of a survival like exploration thing, so like rations and stuff made sense for us to keep on hand. And I was like, that's a lot of meat, and my GM was like, yeah, but it's going to go bad in, you know, like a couple of days. And I was like, hi, I'm a druid and I have create and destroy water. Can I destroy the water content in it and make it dragon jerky? And my GM just kind of stared into the middle distance for like 2 minutes and went,
God damn it. Oh my
I
God.
will let you roll a D100 to see how much dragon jerky you get out of this.
Like,
And I
what
was like,
percentage of the water's evaporated?
like, it's just
Yeah,
one of
make
those things. It's like, I'm still doing it as written. It's just not the usual application of the rules.
Well, and then again, I go back to I go back to, for me, I care a lot about like character and character moments. Like again, I think we as humans like stories because they are related to people, to identities, to, you know, ways of seeing the world. And so it's like, if this is about your character as a druid making an insightful moment and discovering that you can do this, or being like, right, you've been a survival, this is the way that you do it, like, let's treat it with that layer. If it's just Shiv wants to be kind of a shithead, then it's like, okay, then I get to do something shitty to you later. You know what I mean? Like there's that level of fun
Look.
to play as well. But it depends on again, like a podcast or an AP is very different than a home game. Like obviously all of it's, people can do whatever they want when they're all together
The other
playing.
question.
But like I always consider it an invite. Like if someone is going to give me a strong, impulsive, chaotic choice, it's like that's an invitation to pay attention to, like, why is that coming up? What's the character doing? What's the justification? And those are really cool story prompts. They make great moments, even if they're also just like the rules lawyer, chaotic, let's manipulate thing.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to characterize you, Shiv, but
let me addendum and be like, it's always something my character would do, not in the like hashtag what my character would do shitty way, but like she's a druid, she would know how to preserve
She would
meat.
know.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
And
The important question I have, as if I was your GM, is I would caveat being like, yes, you can do that to the dragon because the dragon is dead. No, you can never ever do that to a person.
well, yeah, because like I think in the written it says object, and in D&D, once you become a corpse, you are
People
an
are
object.
not objects.
Yeah.
So-
It only applies to dead things. It doesn't apply to living things. But you can do it to a tree.
That will help with kind of another question I have is just talking about the role of both as a GM and as a player, how we're all somewhat responsible for the safety of the table.
Yeah.
And yeah, like obviously GM, you're talking about being safety patrol. We're in charge of that, but I think we all have a role in seeing someone's face, being able to take a step back, listening when a boundary is made, either in session 0 or later. So I will caveat this by, I'm in a very long D&D campaign. This is before I knew how many other options there were and how toxic it is. But in our session 0, everyone said they were fine with character deaths.
Yeah.
And because of my not being able to pay shit, here we are a year later, and they had a TPK moment, and the entire atmosphere changed because what originally was just them, oh, I'd be fine dying, turned into I've become attached to this character, and if I lose them, I lose a chunk of myself. We did some retconning, you know, we had to go back and like, okay, you said this was originally a boundary. Is it safe to say no one thinks this is a boundary anymore? How do you approach safety at your table and making sure you can have fun, but that people aren't needing to seriously decompress afterwards?
Yeah, well, And I mean, some tables are very intentionally exploring this and are fine with decompressing afterwards and do it together and debrief and talk it out. I mean, I've definitely been in those environments. And then yeah, others, this is about telling a goofy, fun story, and suddenly it got really real and sad in a way that we don't want. Um, I mean, I think so. Again, coming from this kind of like dance, theater, clown, commedia mask background, um, we in a lot of physical work, you do need to be very aware of each other's bodies, and a lot of times what you're doing, you're not, you're improvising. You're not always going to know where someone's going to move to next. So it's very easy to step on toes. It's very easy to bump into each other, to knock each other over. And in acrobatics, so a lot of balance work, you do a lot of your best balance work when you're in counterbalance, when both people are out of balance in opposite directions. That's what creates a stable middle between the two of you. And so we talked a lot about this metaphor of like, you always need to be taking care of yourself first, knowing what you are and are not capable of doing. And while you're doing that, you're putting your trust in the other person, giving them your full weight. Because if you go halfway, you're both going to fall apart. But if you truly let each other take your weight, give your weight, counterbalance, balance, um, in some cases, like that actual act of trust enables the other person to know clearly, okay, I have M's weight right now. I can't just jump around and do whatever. I need to really hold her and make sure that she's going to be okay. And so I'm glad that your table made those decisions to have that conversation, do that retcon, because that to me was an example of, okay, we're holding the weight of the situation that's just happened. Let's like actually take it seriously. What I find frustrating in a lot of session zero conversations and conversations, even in APs, is that it's talked about in this very theoretical way, but it's also kind of like half talked about. It's not talked about with a level of actual vulnerability or context where I can really understand why someone has a line or a veil or whatever. And so I just tend to try to steer away from that stuff as much as possible when I'm running a game and really focus on the things that I'm like, I'm explicitly doing a game about death. We're going to talk about it. You might die. We're going to feel a lot of feelings about it. Your friends might die. That's the point of this. It's obviously not going to be a game that's talking about rape and trauma regarding childhood abuse and all these other things. Like this is what this is about. This is what it's not about. And then obviously things can come up anyway. There's so many ways we can step in each other's toes. But as long as we are taking the time to actually hold each other's weight in those situations, I think that leads to much safer outcomes than doing a very like white person, like gloss over, pretend nothing's wrong, which is the thing that I've experienced in a lot of contexts. And I'm in Canada right now, and it's like a major cultural shift for me to be like, conflict is so scary for people, and to like have a moment when you're like, hey, I didn't like that. Let's actually try something else. Um, it can be really scary for people because they just have a lot of shame. I think all of us can struggle with that. But I don't know. On the other side of that fear is actually learning from each other and listening to each other and taking care of each other. With the Cordova game, those are very explicit sexual themes, and like I was checking in with people as I was making proposals in the game, even though we had talked about it, to be like, I think I'd like my character to masturbate. How do we feel about that?
Yeah.
Because even though it's explicitly what we talked about doing, I was still like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
are we okay with that or not? And I used relatively vague, non-graphic language just because I wasn't sure, right? So I was mindful of my own system, feeling like I'm not quite clear on if I should really go whole hog here. And we had opportunities to kind of write little vignettes separately, and so I, chose to be a little bit more explicit when I had like prep time. Um, but yeah, I think it's a lot about being willing to deal with the consequences of those moves you're making and proposals you're making, and carrying each other's weight when they have different responses than you. We are all very different people, and we're all the same.
I love that
I'm
idea
also
of that counterbalance, leaning on someone
Honestly,
and together building trust.
the acrobat like metaphor is just, it's very good. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to start utilizing that. I
Yeah.
actually baby GM Shiv accidentally TPK'd a party, and they
Oof.
were all very upset about it. And I think in one of the most brilliant strokes of improvisation I've ever done, when everyone's like, "Oh my god, we're all dead," and I was like, "And then you wake up in the
The
underworld."
dream.
And then it became like almost like D&D Doom, and now you have to fight your way through the hells. And I totally
When in doubt, send them to hell and have them send them to hell and or heaven, depending on how their party behaved. And Dante's Inferno of it.
It was honestly, it was a fun little exercise for me, and I referenced Dante's Inferno. It was very fun.
That works perfectly for D&D.
What's the one guy whose girlfriend died? What's the one guy who Greek mythology girlfriend? Yeah, like Orpheus, that bitch.
Right. Yeah.
So many.
There's so many.
Yeah. Okay. There are more, but it's Orpheus.
If you reference that specific set of words, we all think Orpheus.
Yeah.
We've all played.
That's what I was thinking about. Like if 4 out of 5 of your party members are dead, good job. You're now Orpheus. Go get your party back.
Right.
Yeah. But also, I mean, with just safety at the table, I'm still figuring out how to do that in actual play. Because I had something that worked for home games. Then 2 years ago, I started getting into actual play, and that's very different because like there are people who, for not always the most part, but at least there's always been like 2 people at my tables, I think, that had never met each other before.
Yeah.
And they're going to be on camera together. And if that's live streamed, there's no real taking it back. So need to figure something out. At the same time, we don't want to just always, we want actual play to be in any way possible to take seriously. We don't always just want to just have the funny little D&D adventures where nothing bad ever happens.
Right.
So there's a lot of friction there. I mean, I use Lines and Veils. There's a spreadsheet that's anonymous that's been, I think, first created by Stella Luna and then has been propagated by Roll-D5 and other.
It's the Monty Cook one that then got.
Yeah, it's just been adapted a lot.
Adapted a bunch of times to like.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like. Oh wait,
I use that. I mean, I use that, but it's not sufficient for everything. Like for some reason, we need to be explicit about like what we're doing and what we don't want.
I feel like the Monty Cook one is really good. It's really good for quick in-person one-shot games because you can't do that many. But like longer games, no, I need a full. But like realistically, the best checklist I've ever seen was not built for tabletop games. It was built for BDSM. It's just like these are things you can. These are things I like. Yes, I'm interested in. No, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested even hearing about this thing. Yes, I might be interested, but I'm not sure because I've never done it. And like it's like a scale of like technically like 7 things or whatever, where it's just no, like hard no, maybe no, not in front of me, like, and you just keep going up until you go yes, I want this thing. Like
No, I mean before I had ever heard of the safety tools in a TTRPG context. I had heard about them in a BDSM context. I don't even do BDSM. Like
this comes back to
the Venn diagram.
Once again, bringing up
I'm not in the center of the Venn diagram at all, but I still had heard.
Not me. I wouldn't.
There's a great Brennan Lee Mulligan quote where he describes being a GM as being a service top and a power bottom at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't like it.
And that is my identity.
It doesn't. I was gonna say it doesn't really
no idea what a service top is. I can kind of intuit it, but
we could explain to you, Janis. Do you want to know in detail?
No.
I mean, I think I can intuit it. I think it's pretty clear what a service top is, just from the combination of words. Like,
so again,
I mean, explain it. I want to hear it in your words.
Let's not. What I feel. What I feel like is missed a lot of times with the conversation around safety tools is that like fundamentally safety is something everyone's responsible for and it should be happening all the time. Like these conversations can happen whenever there's a question of how are we doing? Because a meta conversation about a game enables good gameplay. And I frequently will check in with people. I think I did a couple of times, Ariel, during our game of just being like, how are we doing? Where are we at? I'll call specific players out, be like, what do you think's going on right now? And by the way, you name of player, how are you doing? Is everything good? And a lot of it is just because I feel responsible as the one in charge of the table to make sure that those conversations happen. But ultimately, it is on everybody. You can always back channel. There are thousands of different tools out there, just like there are thousands of different game rules themselves. But it's kind of like being a good human being and being like, are we both enjoying what's happening right now? And the answer can be no. It's okay for it to be no, but we have to be in a place where we can own our feelings. And for a lot of people, they're still figuring that out. That's what TTRPG is going to help them figure out. But it's
I
tricky.
will say that when
Did very
I will say
specifically check in with me for one thing. I have
Yeah.
on my list are my safety lines and veils. I have a fear of large flocks of birds.
Yeah.
It's
Yep,
a long
as you should.
story, but when in mass, I'm like not cool with that. And I think we had a swarm of insects
Yeah.
that came out, and you specifically were like, Ariel, you said swarms of birds. How are insects for you? And I was like, I'm cool with insects. And I really appreciate that because
Good.
a swarm of something versus a swarm of, see, a fish or a swarm of insects, they do hit different for me. So yeah, that was a moment where you were actively engaging and trying to make sure that the lines were drawn appropriately, and things that I hadn't thought of were still things that I could say yes or no to. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, because you just never know, right? You never know
Yeah.
what is and isn't. And you could say yes and then realize, oh, actually no. And then, okay, great. Those insects suddenly vanished. And what came in their place was 10 times worse.
Yeah.
You know? Again, it's
There's
another
so many-
invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that as someone who rarely GMs these days, like sometimes I do, occasionally I think about it, but neither here nor there. One of the things I would do when I was a GM was, besides checking when I think something bad might have happened, it's also checking in when something good is going on. Like, are you like just because you marked it as something that you're interested in, or you mentioned in Stars and Wishes beforehand that you wanted to see something, it's like, hey, I as a GM, I'm running this game. Did I meet your expectation? Did I exceed your expectation? Like, what is happening? And it has the thing that you wanted to see or thing that you wanted to happen to your character with your character in this scene. Do you want more of it? Like, do you want, or is like, here, you said you want cake. Okay, cool. You've had this one slice of, do you want a second slice of cake? Or are you like, nah, that's like, but like, I also feel like the other thing that happens, that's the thing that gets missed in safety tools, is everyone's always concerned about not upsetting someone. But like, you could be crying because you're happy. You could be crying because you like, these could be tears of like, are you so overwhelmed with joy that you are like, no, I need a pause. I need you to not look at me for 2 seconds while I just bask in this joyous moment. And I also think that that's the thing that doesn't, like, when I'm GMing, one of the things I do, even actually sometimes not even when I'm GMing. Like, I even did this with the 2 streams for It's Dangerous to Go to Low Take This. I was not GMing those 2 games. I was just producing those games. But after both of those games, I went, hey, players, how do you feel? Did you enjoy this? Would you do this again? Like, and that's not just me like looking for ego boost because it was my own game. I mean, like, did you enjoy this? Like, did you have a good time? Did, like, not only necessarily the game that you just played, but also the people that you played with. Like, which is again different for like in-person con games, which is the other place that I just pick in GM games, because you'll never see these people ever again if the world works out the way it is. But like, if it's a game that you're reoccurring, even if it's just a one shot with reoccurring people, it's just like, hey, yes, I enjoyed the one game I played with you as a person, but not necessarily I may never want to play with you again because you're not the kind of player that I want to play with. Like, it's like, again, those are things I feel like people also need to check in on as well, because just because you had a good time doesn't mean you want to do it again.
True.
I think the other thing, and just as somebody who plays a lot more than they GM, as a player, I feel like a lot of people underutilize in antagonistic relationship, and I don't mean like you're fucking over your other players and stuff, but like having like a rivalry or something like that. And I have a tendency to fall into those in my games, and almost every time after there is some sort of blow up or like barb exchange or something like that, I will go, Shiv is okay with you. These characters don't like each other right now. I'm fine with you. How are you doing? Like, you know, and just reminding that the actions of the character are not my personal reflections on you, and like just keeping that separation, because I do like having big emotional stories. I like having big emotional payoffs. I have wept at so many tables, and my GM's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm having the best time. Like, you know, and it has been like a negative emotion that my character is experiencing, that I'm experiencing, but I'm doing okay because that's what I signed up for. So
somebody said about that, like, just because someone's crying does not mean that they're not in the scene. It might be that they're crying because they really are in the scene.
Right. You know, and it's like one of those things that, I mean, there are specific movies I put on because I feel like having a good cry. Like, there's just like, let me put on Rent and I'll weep over Angel's funeral and I'll feel better afterwards, like that is like my go-to hair trigger. I will cry every time. But yeah, sometimes you just need a good cry, but and it's a safe, like low stakes environment for you to once again explore those feelings and know that everyone is not actually, being an asshole to you. Hopefully
Yeah.
your table.
Well, because again, you're getting to like rehearse or express emotions in a non-real context. It is safe fundamentally. Like this is made up. Things come up, things can feel really intense. Sometimes there are boundaries that can get crossed and stuff, and you can get caught up in the moment. Like certainly it's messy, but ultimately you're sitting on your computer talking to a screen. Your cats are looking at you going, "What the fuck is going on?" And it's not real. It's not real.
It's
And
all
I do
pretend.
think we can
Right.
get caught up in it, and certainly it feels very real to me. I get very immersed and invested. I played this android who was kind of a femme fatale assassin type, and I really was trying to explore like just being super super other compared to everyone else. So a lot with themes of isolation and not understanding everyone else's social rules. Again, autistic themed, of
Tism.
course. The tism. And I had this fight with one of the other players who was like a hacker and who, of course, had all this knowledge about tech that I, as a player, did not have. And so I said something that the player jumped on to be like, this is an example of why you don't know what you're fucking talking about. And she was getting very heated and very intense. And so I was really worried that I, as a player, had let the other player down because I didn't know the right tech term. So I made a choice that exposed us to some virus or whatever. And I played it both as M and as the character of like, I'm shutting down. This person is shouting at me. I don't understand. I didn't understand the rules. I messed up. And I left the party. I left the character, like just dipped because I was like, that's what I would do in this situation. And so we narrated figuring out how to get me back. It was a great moment. But I definitely afterwards was like, are we okay? And they were like, yeah, I was totally just playing the scene and the like the circumstances that made sense to me. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I just, wasn't sure because I don't know anything about computers, unfortunately. I've only been on stages. And,
Go talk
so
to
yeah,
Jack.
the feelings come up regardless, but that's what the meta conversation is about. Because once we had that conversation, I felt fine.
There's it's like if you've seen the new It with Bill Skarsgård, he discusses that how they purposely kept the kids
Oh
away from
yeah.
him, both in and out of makeup. And he's like, I'm doing the first scene with this kid, and I'm yelling in his face, I'm spitting, and he's crying. And I think as an adult, like I'm traumatizing a child. And then
Mhm.
after wrapped, when he went to go be like, "Are you okay?" That young man was like, "Love what you're doing." Like, once again, like just feeling a scene does not necessarily mean that it is good or bad, and depending on who you're with and how much trust has been developed. Yeah, cry, baby. Let me see them. Let me see
Right.
someone yelling. Let me see those characters have conflict so that we can move a story forward and develop that relationship, which is
Yeah,
just
good
more
stories
entertaining.
have conflict, and good
Yeah.
stories have conflict that matters to the characters. So if it matters to you, it's going to matter to your character.
And like it doesn't necessarily like get like I will say it doesn't have to have conflict to move a character. Like it can just like things can just happen that aren't the way Western people do conflict. I forget like
True.
but like emotions must be had in order for characters to progress. Like
Mm.
and also because if your character is a person or if your character is alive and has feelings, then that's how they grow as a being. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I
doesn't
guess
need to be
another way,
conflict.
right? I guess another way to put it is there just needs to be like cause and effect, like
Yeah.
consequences. I think if things don't really change, then the story is static, and
Yeah.
you can certainly have a story that is cyclical and returns. But in order to see that journey and for it to mean something, consequences
Yeah.
need to occur. And I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, in non-Western storytelling, there's a lot of other forms that don't do
Oh
the
yeah.
traditional, and it's not
Because
based on
I love
violence.
a good I do personally love a good secular. Like, no, time is a flat circle. We are back at the
Right.
beginning. But like, hey, I'm back at the beginning of this in the same situation, but I am now a different person than I was
Right.
the first time. Like I am you've discovered Imani's secret obsession, time travel and time loops. I just think they're great.
Looper.
It's like, hey, yes, every action has an equal and or bigger reaction to the thing that you just did, and I might still end up being the same at the end of the story, but I'm still different than I was at the first time I did it, because I have learned something new about myself and my character in the process of going through it the first time around. And the time loop will continue until progress has been made.
I mean, to be fair, that's even just us as people. Like, you need to learn to grow, and things need to change everything else. So, like, if you're, I mean, to use relationships, but like, if you're having the same fight every time, you're going to have the same fight until something changes.
Yeah.
Like, like, do the damn dishes.
Either you change or your environment changes, but something's got to change. Like, something's got to be different in order for progress to be made. Progress must be made.
Look, I mean,
the best stories to
even
tell.
with like time loop, like stuff like, Groundhog Day and like stuff like that, it's like you will experience the same thing over and over until you figure out how to change it. Look, I was a Supernatural girly for a long time. I have 4 Supernatural cosplays that I've done, and I will stay to my dying breath. The mystery spot is my favorite episode.
Is that the TV show episode with the first time they meet Loki?
It's the one where Dean or Sam experiences a time loop, and in every time loop Dean dies. It's always a different way, and it's very fun, and they get very silly towards the end of it. But it's like, well, I think he's introduced as Loki in that episode.
I mean,
but
I didn't want to spoil it.
His real name comes around, but yes, but like, it's kind of one of those things that in a weird way, it was teaching. Come back full circle. Oh God, I love full circle moments. Was teaching Sam how to deal with the grief of he's going to lose his brother eventually, and so like,
it's almost like Loki knew what was going on.
Look,
speaking of time,
about Loki,
I know.
We're on our back half, so I want to be kind of 2.5. I want to just talk to you a little bit about doing some games at cons. I know we've discussed it a bit, and then talking about your comedy special and fleeing the U.S. So when you're at cons specifically, I think you've been at PAX. You've said, how do you continuing that trust in a group that has not had a chance to necessarily do safety and build any sort of trust and may not know each other or you?
Well, I've done a lot of like facilitating in other contexts. So I was like a corporate team building host for a long time. I've led storytelling workshops and improv workshops and all these other things where in a similar way, there's a bunch of kind of strangers who may or may not know each other. Because the reality, at least for PAX Unplugged, you get groups of people where some people knew each other, but didn't all know each other. It'd be like a group of 3 or 4 coming together to sit down or whatever it is. It's in a big, and then there's one other random person whose name is Joe usually, and it is, for me, it's like, for me, it's really about providing as much clarity as possible of each step of where we're at in the process. Most people need orientation. Like, it's a basic human need of survival to know where you are, what's going on, what's kind of going to happen when, so they know what to expect. And so just taking people through step by step, I don't know, it's a very Virgo thing, I guess, but like offering structure, as much structure as possible, so that you don't need to invent an entire character on the spot. Name this person that you've checkboxed like 6 options on. Like Ariel with the character sheets that I gave y'all, I even limited it from what I have in my full design for Hero Catastrophe, because it's just like, there's no time for us to go into like a long, involved character backstory. So make some clear choices that give other people an idea of how to visualize your character, what the vibe is, and like to make it fun, like what's going to be a clear archetype for you to play. And then you get to have some creativity with the name and how they look and some other stuff to add to it. But ultimately, there's some very clear 3-choice thing that you have. And then we just start going. I think you learn as you play is a much smarter strategy to me than take 400 hours to prepare for then 20 minutes of unsatisfying gameplay. So it is a bit of a risky move with like people who don't know each other, but I do find that usually means they're kind of on their best behavior. And also, as long as you're really in control of the structure and what we're going to talk about when, then you can avoid a lot of the traps of like, I don't know, starting to do some weird transphobic rant or whatever it is. Like, I will very quickly call out when I'm like, okay, cool, we're not going to talk about that right now. Let's shift focus to this. If someone is behaving in a way that is unsafe, obviously that's a different situation of like actively bullying someone but normally for most people it's just they need to know what are the parameters that they're playing in. Some people think it's really fun to play in a very irreverent space. To bring up comedy, I mean that's a whole different vibe and world where it is actually part of the culture to poke people's bubbles and to push people and to
Yeah.
tease. And I tease people a lot when I play games. I think I have a pretty good sense of where the lines are, and I obviously feel it out as I go. But there there is the balance between wanting to make sure every individual is having a great time, but also ultimately the group needs to have a great time, and that is ultimately an act of clarity at each step of the way.
Was that crowd work that just like I'm
Oh,
gonna sit here and we're gonna riff for a bit, but it's some comedians do it better than others, and some
Yep,
people end
yep.
up sticking their foot in their mouth, and you're like, yeah, that wasn't a funny joke. You thought you were just gonna double down and keep saying, yeah.
horrible shit.
So,
I
well,
can't think of her name. It's Lucy something. I like her real name starts with a
Lucy
C.
Darling, my
Yeah.
Oh
beloved. I
yes.
love her so
And
much.
So good.
one of my favorite things is when you're seeing clips of her doing crowd work, when she's talked to someone who clearly did not know what was going on, or like did not know what getting handed the mic meant, and she just goes, "Oh, okay, cool," and like pivot, like she'll make a real quick joke and pivot to someone else, and she'll like either she might throw a reference back to that person, being like, "See, that's what you were supposed to do," but like it's always at her own expense, never at their expense, even
Mhm.
when that person is just like you sat in the front row at a comedy show. I don't know what you thought was gonna happen, but sometimes they're just a guest. They're just a friend who's at a table. So it's not their fault that
yeah, I didn't know that I was getting into a
yeah,
two-way conversation with
conversation.
someone on
Right.
stage.
Right.
Correct.
I always try to assume best intention of
Yep.
whenever like I actually did a set last night at a house party, which is like a very wild environment. It's very loud, very chaotic, very drunk. And the hostess was like heckling me like to no end.
Mm.
And of course she's the host and she's wonderful. She's just, you know, buzzed, having a good time. And to her it was the time like she thinks she's adding to the show. And so I start joking about her having attention seeking behavior and I'm
Oh,
ribbing her about like you know being trying to take over like do you want to take the mic right now just like come up and do your set.
yeah.
And she laughed and she's like oh no like you're much better than me and I'm like I would love to be if you would give me a chance.
Yes.
And everyone's laughing at that and I am being
That is
truthful and
funny.
I'm being a little like I'm being bratty myself for being like come on I'm the star let me take over. But for her she had enough good nature to really receive that and it was fine, but I had to divert some attention to her to give her her moment so that then she would feel satisfied to back off. And sometimes that's just is what's
Mhm.
happening. You have to accept everything. I think that's like a general rule of reality, certainly a rule of improv. You accept everything. That's where the yes and is true. And then you very gently say, and back the fuck off, bitch. I'm the one in charge. And
Yeah.
I do
To be
think
able to
that that's
redirect.
true.
Right.
Yeah, and that's true for GMing as well. That Lucy moving away from the person who's not getting it is so that she can keep the show running for everybody, for her, for the audience, for everybody, including the person that's like the I don't know what to say, right? Which yeah, it's overwhelming sometimes.
Mhm.
I do a lot of crowd work in my special, but it's really strategic and it's very specific and it's very contained. So it's not just what do you do for work? Let's chat. Like it's what is the one interesting thing about you I wouldn't know just by looking at you. And it's a very like strategic thing to set up a story that I'm going to tell and a series of jokes that I'm going to tell. And I let people answer, but I comment on a couple things they say or respond. You know, I'm improvising, I'm following my impulses, but then I move on. I don't let it sit for too long. Again, to go back to momentum, you always have to keep the thing moving.
The ball must go
And
forward.
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that's true in any live context. Like cons are obviously live, like they're real people in real space, and they need attention, and then they need to be given permission to release that attention, to have a moment to look at their character sheet, to not have to be on the spot, so that they can recharge and be ready for the next moment where I'm saying, "Hey, Joe so-and-so, your barbarian named Grok wants to do something. What do they want to do? And you get to be the conductor of that attention. I think I prefer to have a much stronger grasp in a live con situation because of all the overstimulation that's happening than even online for an AP, where I'm like, everyone here is chosen to be here, was really keyed into wanting to have their moment and tell their story. So, like, yeah, go off, Queen. Tell me about your coat right now or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've done one sit down at a con, and it was nice. It was mostly because I wanted to see if I wanted to get the system. It's a very condensed TTRPG kind of system, which is designed for like 3 to 6-year-olds. And my partner's got a niece, and I was like, what if we got this for Aubrey? She could learn how to play. Wouldn't it be fun? And I was the one person sitting at a table with 3 friends, and the GM, I think, tried to make space for everyone. But then inside jokes started going on the other side of the table, and I was like, I guess I'll just sit here till the GM specifically spotlights me because you 3 are not going to let me in.
See, I will
so I just
say,
had that memory. It's very
I will
strong of like
say-
I wasn't.
not having a good time. But so I will say, as someone I've GM'd games, one shot specifically, only ever one shots at both Dragon Con in Atlanta and MomoCon also in Atlanta, which are fun times. Fun times. And
I'm just laughing because I literally just like solidified my MomoCon plans. Like
they email me every year saying, "Hey, do you want to come?" They email me every year saying, "Hey, do you want to come back and GM for us?" And I'm always just like, if I could fly cross country, I would, because I had a great time. But I can't afford. But I will say, whenever I have a table in which, if it's a table of 4 players or whatever, and 3 of them already know each other, I will deliberately be like, y'all can keep your jokes to like your in jokes to yourself, like your con, but like this is all 4 of us are at this table and I don't know any of you. So if I don't get your joke, keep your joke to yourself. And that's not just to put the person who doesn't know the other people in like in a spotlight, but it's also like sometimes I've gotten a table where it was a couple and one of them knew how to play tabletop games and the other one was introducing someone to play tabletop games. And it's just like, here, I know you're trying to help them learn how to play this game, but that's me, and don't make it weird because you have to go home with them. I don't if I do this badly, like you have to live with that person theoretically. So like let me be the person to explain what's going on, explain how this game goes. I know you're trying to help, but like you play your game, let me help them play their game and help the other people who also, fun fact, don't know how to play this game. Like like because I feel
So
like
I have
No.
Oh, sorry. I have another master's, which is in organizational leadership. And one thing that
what is that? What does that mean? Like, sorry, what does that mean?
Being leadership
corporate
and
therapy.
organization.
Yeah, it's corporate therapy essentially. No, it's like it's tricky to lead anything because of course everything comes up for everybody all the time. There's always constant fear: is someone going to take care of me? Is someone going to teach me am I supposed to know the rules? Should I not know the rules? I'm full of shame, I'm full of fear, blah, blah.
Yep.
And a leader has to be the one that organizes all of those feelings and puts them towards a common purpose. And the most effective way to do that is to be like innerly led yourself. There's studies that talk about an internal alignment reflects outwardly to people. People can pick up on it. And when they know that you're calm and in charge, they'll let you lead. And I think a lot of this stuff that comes up comes down to, for me, if I have a bad set, I know it's because I'm not on my side right now. There's something happening. Like I had like a little breakup, some situationship that broke up, and then I did a set like a couple days later, and I still made people laugh. It wasn't a bad experience, but I didn't have a great time, and I felt really like off. And I was thinking about it later. I was like, well, yeah, I'm frustrated at myself for this situation having happened. I wasn't like in full alignment when I was out there in front of people. And I'm the one leading the room right now. I'm the one telling them shit. I'm the one asking them to do things. And in con settings, especially, like everyone's coming to you with all kinds of insane baggage. And you basically got to be like, set that down. I got you, babe. Like, we're good. And that involves the inner work of figuring out how to get there. It's a constant effort for sure. But I think it's why I love doing it so much, is because it asks so much of me.
I do love running convention games at convention specifically because it feels the most like being a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
Like everyone may want to be here because they're excited to try new things, but sometimes they also want to cry for their parent because it's a lot happening. It's very loud. They haven't slept in like 2 days because it's like day 3 of convention, and it's just like it's like I do this before games on stream as well, but it's like, hey, have you peed? Have you gotten a snack? Do you have water? Are you prepared? Like, are you ready to sit at this table? Are you ready to sit at this
Do
table?
you need to take a nap?
You like I know you here's the thing, I know you signed up for this game, but also did you sign up for this game at 8 o'clock in the morning and now it's like 11 p.m. and you really should have gone to bed. Like you didn't think about the time. Like or
You
like
take a
it's
nap.
okay to walk away. Like I'm not my feelings will not be hurt because you're not here mentally for the thing that you just agreed to play. Like that's okay. Like I genuinely like feel like the most like a kindergarten teacher at a con game because I'm just like I have to check in with everyone's emotion from like the get-go because like you have no idea how that day has gone for them or how yesterday went for them. Unlike like
Yeah.
a pre-planned stream game, where like a pre-planned stream, you have a schedule, you knew beforehand, you probably did some prep like the day before, or even like con games and like in-store games, like games where like you're playing in a store on a regular basis. I haven't done it in a couple of years.
I've actually never done that.
Oh
I
yeah,
did it
that's how
once. It-
I did it for like a year. I actually no, I did it for longer than a year. I think I did that for like 2 years. Both
I know
running
that's
a
how a lot of
game
people
and
get
playing a
started.
game. Huh?
I know that's how a lot of people get started, but like
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
others, I was not a white dude who walked into a game store and
Okay, so my game store story is funny because the game store that I'm referring to is the owners are like not great people, and I discovered that after the fact, and I should have known that. But I worked when I GM'd games for them that were paid for like 2 years, and they did not pay me at any point in time because I volunteered to do it, and I realized that in retrospect, that ain't shit.
Look,
However,
as playing
they were
in
by my house.
person, yeah, I was gonna say playing in person with complete strangers. That's a rotating cast. I actually it's so funny because like when, for those who have not been following along with my story, there are 5 feral kittens living in my laundry room right now,
I
and
love
they
that
are
you said it
about
like that.
3
You
weeks
put
old.
them there.
I did not put them there. The door was open. I did not invite them. I just left it open for the other kittens that had been living around my house. But so they are now starting to get mobile. And when now there's like a little bit, there's like about a foot drop from the edge of the doorway to the actual like carport that's got like concrete floor. And this morning, so when I go to like feed them in the morning, it feels like I'm going out to do the chickens, you know, like I give them water and feed them or whatever. Mom will
Throwing
get
it
up
around.
and go have like a breather away from them while I'm in there. So I'd have to watch them. And like literally this morning, it was just me picking them up and putting them back in where they need to be so they don't drop off this foot drop. And they were very determined to drop off this foot drop. And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
that's what GMing feels like to me. Is
totally.
no, babies.
Yeah. Like stay
Like-
in my playpen. Stay in the playpen.
My first pro GM business card said professional cat herder on it.
Mhm.
I'm
So
a chaos coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have about 10 minutes left, and I don't want us to leave without asking you about this comedy special. This is a TTRPG channel at its heart, but because of so much that's going on globally and around, I'm just not going to ignore this. If you're okay, can you tell us a little bit about fleeing to Canada and like turning trauma and life into comedy and a way to heal in front of a crowd?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you. Yeah, maybe there'll be ways to tie this in. I've been trying to, I guess, already with thinking about leading a group. But yeah, so the comedy special is called Oops. It's volume 1 because there are going to be 5 volumes to this special. I'm doing it once a year for the first 5 years of my transition. So I'm a trans woman. I know I kind of gave it away with the trans lesbian sex witch, but that is me for sure. And I realized this in June, July-ish of August 2024. So while the election was still going on, right before the Democrats transitioned from a man to a woman. That's a joke. And
No,
much
that was
like
funny. I got it. The
much
layers.
like
the layers.
in life for us, shit went pretty hog wild. I experienced the January 2025 inauguration, and there's only two sexes, there's boys and girls, and the I had been pursuing my legal name change decree because I wanted to get my paperwork in order before this kind of stuff happened, but I wasn't successful. So I still have my given name on my passport, my US passport. I'm very privileged that I'm originally from Canada, like I was born there, but I moved around a bunch as a kid and lived in the US for like 25 years, mostly in Philadelphia. That's where I was like an adult. Um, and one thing that I felt like I didn't know anything about transness or being trans, and as I realized how normal and beautiful and lovely it is, I wanted to tell people about it. I also was working at a medical college, so I was getting a lot of just like really interesting, fascinating scientific information about trans health and trans biology, and doing a lot of my own research, of course, as an autistic person. So I just felt very strongly with my skills and background in storytelling and improvisation that like I should just try to talk to people about this. And then I was getting told that in some states would mean I'm a fraud and that I could be thrown in jail. And in some of those jails, they're practicing moving prisoners to their sex assigned at birth, which means I would be in a male prison. And they have practices of V coding where they put the most effeminate prisoners with the most aggressive men to literally like give them a wife effectively to rape to death, to keep the population under control, because if the most violent men are busy murdering women, they're not murdering each other. Which, while maybe that would be somewhat gender affirming for me, I decided that wasn't something I necessarily was interested in trying.
He called me pretty while it was happening.
Yeah, I have made that joke. It is in my special, in a different way, but I just had to go because I could, because I have never really felt that welcome here when I thought I was a man. I think everyone. It was hard to know that I was trans because I was just secretly Canadian, and that was what was different about me. you know, like I never really.
Canadian.
Yeah, it's funny how the metaphors stack, but I really did find myself wanting to uh, honor the inner child I'd finally listened to and knew that she loved performing and loved being that theater girl diva, Shiv, as we talked about, and getting all the attention and staying on stage, but like for a reason, right? Like to communicate my experience outward because it is a relatively rare one, and perhaps in a way through my skill set to translate to other people who wouldn't normally pay attention, because I didn't. It was totally in my shadow. I had no idea about transness. When you think you're just a cis straight guy and then really you're a trans lesbian, like so much is hidden. Much like being a Canadian in the States, where like you just look a little like you just behave differently, but that's just because you're a weird person, or you're a defective person.
You did say
Just
A during
Canadian.
tech check. You were like, "Oh, sucks to hate A," and I was like, "Ah, there it is, that Canadian kid."
It's so like
comes out.
I just, the way you talk about secret Canadian makes me think of Fallout, when like that
Yep.
was like a big like reveal, and it was just like she's Canadian, and I'm like,
Yeah, terrifying. I mean, I literally would be told all the time, like, oh, that's why you're like that. It was like the most common thing when people would find out I'm Canadian. And what
Like, is it Canadian or are you from Wisconsin?
right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
One of those states.
The UP in Michigan doesn't want to acknowledge that they're just diet Canadian, okay?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
but it is it's different. It's a different culture. There are a lot of things that are different about it. I'm bilingual. I grew up speaking French at school and English at home. Like I am different than most Americans, but that was really minimized because I could assimilate enough into what the dominant culture was, much like I could assimilate enough into being a man. I could assimilate enough into all these things. So my special is like I've just been through a lot of stuff. Like this is why I wrote Hero Catastrophe. I lost my best friend. I had a wife. We got divorced. She turned out to be a lesbian. Oops. I didn't figure out that I was trans for another 6 years, but I did. And instead of it being like, oh God, life is awful, be like, how funny, how hilarious. I like to say that my life is a joke and I'm the punchline. And it is partially because, yeah, that's the way jokes work. There's a setup, there's a buildup of tension. we expect a certain thing to happen, and then boom, something else happens. Oh gosh, surprise, laughter. That's where it all comes from, right? And I just am that, like sort of metaphysically in most contexts. I don't behave the way people expect. I don't move the way people think I should move. I don't talk the way people think I should talk. Whatever it is. And learning how to own and love that and love myself no matter what made me want to tell those stories and give people a chance to experience it. So I recorded my special in November in Kitchener, Ontario, where I am now
You
safely.
have a hockey team.
They do have a hockey team. Most places in Canada have hockey teams. They
I know,
really
but I
love
know
hockey
their
up here.
hockey team.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I'm doing one a year for the first 5 years of my transition, just to kind of mark the time and see what I'm learning. I've already gotten approved funding wise for gender affirming surgery, which is amazing that I moved back here and was able to get that. And that's been huge for my feelings of, yeah, safety and becoming myself as I'm on this journey of HRT. Um, and yeah, I work for a queer organization here locally, and I kind of am now like professionally gay, so it feels really fun to get to like share my story as well as part of that. I get support from my org to do my show places, and um, you know, I have all this training and background, but like I'm still new at pretty much everything. I still feel like I'm starting from scratch, but all of these things are coming together in ways that make me feel really comfortable taking those risks. And so, like, if you feel like taking a risk and watching my special, I would invite you to.
I
Yes,
plan on watching
beautiful.
it later. Like literally, we're gonna get off this. I'm gonna show my wife. It was very funny because the like lineup of I was starting to struggle with my own sexuality. Like I've been in a monogamous relationship for almost 13 years now, and two years ago I was like, am I a lesbian? Like I've known I've liked girls for a long time, but I was like, do I still like men? But I'm
Yep.
married to one whom I adore. And
Mhm.
it's making me feel weird because it's like, I was really kind of struggling with that. And I laid down to go take what I call my hors d'oeuvre, which is that little nap you take on the couch when you don't want to commit to bed yet. And I was kind of in that twilight, nearly asleep space. And my spouse walks into the room, like bursts in and just goes, I'm a woman. My name is Lena. And I was half asleep and I just went, jackpot, and went back to sleep. That's how my wife came out to me.
I love that.
That's how that
Perfect.
Yes.
It make me cry. I love that.
So that's how I discovered I had a wife. And then I went to sleep. And then I woke up several hours later and I burst into her office going, did I dream that or is that real?
There's a lot of
Wife, I'm
crossover.
a lesbian.
There's a lot of
Was
crossover
that then
between the
also when you made the
TTRPG
joke
space
about
and
her
queer.
birthday?
So it was it's just kind of one of those things, and it's like I'm experiencing several different angles of this because my wife is a person of color. We do live in the South, and she is transitioning, and we are in an openly queer relationship. And I have lost 2 jobs because of it in the last 2 years. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it is heavier stuff, but there is so much crossover between the TTRPG space and queerness and transness and us. I mean, just thinking about people who are like Erica Ishii said, my characters were dating women before I knew that was what I was interested in. When I play characters now, I'm almost unless it's myself, I exclusively play male characters just because I don't do that, and I can't really get a chance to experience that side of myself being like a he/him on a regular basis. So I do love, again, creating that space and being able to find other people who are allowing you to explore it safely, affirming who you are and accepting who you are, and then being like, no, yeah, I still want to play with you. I still want to watch your comedy special. That's the beauty of it. So thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like, the joke is test a new name at a coffee shop. I'm like, try it out as a character. Siobhan was tried out in a one shot, and I was like, I like being called that. And Shiv came out after that, and like they them was tried in a game to see how much I like it. And it's like, that's a safe place. And if you go, hey, I don't like that, guess what? You can just make a new character.
Yeah, and there are so many examples of it. There's also I think it's also just like what you're naturally drawn to exploring then. I mean, that's an obvious example is this, but there's also a lot of the early sociologists, when that field started just becoming a field of study in like the 19th century, a lot of them were Jewish because they were always, I mean, they were part of the society, but were always kept on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
just a natural thing to then explore. It's like, how do societies function? And it's like also just like natural, just exploring different facets of characters when you yourself have some journey ahead of you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, like, yeah, TTRPG is almost like a form of sociology that is separate from reality, but you're almost exploring real things within a fantasy.
Understanding people through play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And putting yourself
Yeah,
in like different positions. Like I myself am not an asshole, but I do like to play assholes sometimes.
It's sort of like an expansion of the going through that fake argument in your head that you would have had in the shower with someone else, but like in a bigger, different salt. It's just with other people. You're doing that role.
Yeah.
It's just
Driving
role
the
play
car.
with more steps. It's just role play with more steps. Tabletop role playing game. Like I feel like sometimes people forget the role play part of role play, or they think about the role part of, and they think of role and play as the two parts of the role. But no, it's role play. Like you're like actor role play, like pretending to be something else and trying.
Yeah.
Like no offense to people who play themselves, as someone who plays themselves in so many games. Sometimes I'm just a variation of myself, and I cannot stop myself. But like sometimes you gotta try something different just to experience life through like different sets of eyes. Like go, like yes, you could, which also makes D&D so much more problematic. But however, go play a different race for 5 seconds. Like
Right.
Respectfully.
Well,
do your research.
well,
do it disrespectfully so you can get your ass beat in a video game.
There you go. Get your ass
There are some
beat
people in this
the
world who
method.
need to be punched in the face.
Yeah, like there we go. Go play that orc exactly how you think you want to play that orc, so I can beat your ass in a game.
Find out.
Well, you know, do y'all know this? Do y'all know this form of therapy called internal family systems?
Yes.
Have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this theory of like no bad parts, that we're not one self, we're made up of many different cells, and they are developed over time, and they have different relationships to like what was going on at the time, what did we need to survive, these little kid parts that come up when we're upset or we're scared or we're frustrated or whatever. And that like, yeah, I love playing the part of myself that is super cold and detached and like able to be super logical and hyper rational and fuck the consequences, this is what's right. And then the one that's super emotional and gooey and romantic and flighty, and like these are all parts of me. So sure, like we're all playing ourselves, but ourselves is not just one self.
Yep.
And
yeah,
I do think getting to rehearse those feelings, to circle back to death and grief, like it gives us a chance to live a fuller life, which we only have a certain amount of time to live. So why not?
YOLO.
Oh God, look at her wrapping it up. What's up?
No, it's almost like storytelling or something.
Yeah.
I love.
It's almost like a rule of improv is bring it full circle.
So we got 5 minutes left. Thank you for circling back to our death as we started. Do you have any final words or anything that you would like to leave us with? And for my fellow crew members, is there anything else you would like to leave us with in our final moments of our second fuck roundtable? That's 4 numbers. Second.
Me first?
Yes, you first, please.
Anything I want to leave you with? Yeah, I mean, we've gone through on the ranges. I think something that I'm currently reprocessing. I think I said this, or it's like, oh, you know, I don't have a lot of experience in the industry, and then like, of course, yes, I have made a game, I do APs, I DM, I made a podcast a while ago that's pretty defunct now, but I got to go through a long form. Like I have done a lot of things, and I've done a lot of things in other industries and across industries, and I find connections all the time. And I know it was like a weird pivot to turn into comedy, but like ultimately it is all interconnected. It's why Dropout is so popular, as it does comedy, it does D&D. Like all these things are not that separate. And ultimately, I believe like none of it is that separate. None of us are that separate. Like we all share a common humanity with really beautiful individual expressions of it, of like identity and experience that I'll never have. And that's fucking great that I get to learn from everyone else and all of you. So I think that's something I just want to like name and highlight, that if you think there are rules of what you should and shouldn't do, or what should and shouldn't exist in a game, in a podcast, in a whatever, like maybe fuck that. Maybe it should. Maybe this is your job, is to bring it in and see how it fits and doesn't fit. Because I think, yeah, we get really caught up in what we should or shouldn't do. And I've tried to just really give myself permission. Comedians are not supposed to release a special within the first year of doing comedy, not at all.
That's true.
But I'm not like most comedians, and that's okay. I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be me, and people are gonna like it if they like it, and if they don't, great. Click away, move on to something else.
Yep.
You know, we have enough going on.
You don't have to watch this.
You don't have
Right.
to watch this. Yeah. But hopefully, if you do watch it, you'll get something out of it, because that's my goal. And I do think that we have a lot to offer each other too. And so, yeah, I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to share about my experiences and like where I'm coming from with all this. And it's been a pleasure chatting about it with y'all.
Yay. All right. We'll hop around the room. We'll let everyone do some final moments, some final goodbyes. I'm going to do this in alphabetical order, which means,
You're
Imani,
first.
you are first.
No, you're
Oh, no.
first.
You are first.
Okay. I wasn't counting myself. Okay.
That's how the alphabet
Hi,
works.
everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Ariel. Thank you for listening, for watching, for tuning in. I am 1/5 now of the crew of Find Out Productions. I use they, them pronouns. You can catch me on this channel tomorrow, 12 hours from now, 24 hours from now, doing a Find Out Kids on Bikes, Marlin Mayhem with some amazing cast and crew. And I will popcorn this over alphabetically to Imani.
Hi, I'm Imani. You can find me here on Tuesdays this week playing more of Road Warden. I am on the second part of that. And then you'll find me again on my own channel on Wednesdays, maybe, doing game dev stuff. And then eventually, like I said, I will be producing a Cowboy Bebop actual play coming up in the spring months. And then over the summer, Juneteenth. Juneteenth is all my brain has power to think about. So if you're, again, I repeat, if you're Black and want to GM a game, please sign up for GMing that. Link will be in my Blue Sky profile. And if you're a player who is also Black, signups for that will be coming shortly. Handing that over
Janis.
to,
Yeah. I'm Janis, he, him. I'm also 1/5 of Find Out Productions. I'm also found here, and until August, probably nowhere else. So it's very easy to find me. Isn't that wonderful? I'm currently GMing Blades in the Dark here. Go watch it. It's very good. It's, I'm not just saying that. It's, yeah, we had a lot of things happening in just 2 actually relatively short sessions. We've already been freeing old gods and other things. That's just a little spoiler for future stuff. It's just been freed. We don't know what we're gonna see from them. But yeah, the first 2 sessions were just us getting to know the characters. Next session, again, a little outlook of what's to come is they're going to go into the Deathlands. The Deathlands are, yeah, that's also, I nearly said something early when we said, when Em said that she ran a game that was centered on mortality, because that's what this is going to be. Yeah, next session, we're going to really, like, so far I've been nice to the players. I just gave them a very big payday as well. Next session, I'm gonna hit them hard with the wasteland full of ghosts. Also, our artist for Blades in the Dark, who is Amian, aka the Rose Cleric, did an amazing job. Is also going through a lot of family and financial issues. Their grandmother passed away recently, and they inherited a full-on fucking house that needs a lot of repairs. So they have a GoFundMe up right now. Put it in the chat. Check it out if you have anything to spare. that's it. And I guess that leaves Shiv.
It's me. Hi, I'm Shiv. You can see me play on Saturdays with Janis, where I try to release everything because they all need enrichment. And I may have had a ghost possess a doll and made a deal with an eldritch god in the same session. I can also be found with my personal ramblings on Blue Sky and other places as Dr. Bubbles PhD. I will be running my show Parallel Play with Glyza, doing Missing Month in the next week. We're still hammering down an exact time. And then I will be doing another iteration of Parallel Play with the game dev for Leon for So Upon Your Honor, which is a romantic night solo TTRPG. And Imani and I are currently whispering about doing an Old Man Yowie
Old Man
parallel play,
Yowie.
which I'm very excited about. So dates to come. Keep an eye on the Find Out Productions Blue Sky and my Blue Sky, and we will have full details ASAP.
All right. And last but not least, thank you to our guest, Emme Kay Kennedy, for stopping by, chatting with us, being here. Let people know where they can find you in your amazing game and your comedy special.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, my name's Emme Kay Kennedy, EMME, like femme without the F, KayKennedy on Instagram. You can also find me on Blue Sky at echolocated. And I believe my game is still up on Drive-Thru RPG, so you can find Hero Catastrophe in all capital letters there. I think it might be under my given name, so just look for Kennedy in my last name and you'll find it. And my special is on YouTube. It's called Oops, that's OOPS, exclamation point, volume 1, a comedy special about fleeing America. And yeah, would love for you to take it in and let me know what you think. And yeah, I don't have AP stuff coming up yet. Some things are in the works. The Between will be out on Queer XP, but I believe that's happening like in June or July or something. It's going to be a little bit of time. But it was run by the designers, run by Jason Cordova. So it's going to be a real special treat. And I would love for you to hear all about my lesbian sex witchery if you so choose.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm definitely tuning into that one.
I'm very, very proud of my performance. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right. That has been our second Fuck Around table. Like we said, keep up with all the stuff going on with Find Out Productions over on Blue Sky, Find Out Productions on, and then all over the place on the internet under the same name. I'm going to let you all go and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, everybody.